Hello, in this demonstration I'm going to show you how to make 6 types of handmade collage papers with items found around the house. This first one I'm going to use these found objects like bottle caps. I think this is part of a toy, I'm not really sure, a Lincoln log, a glue stick cap, and an egg whisk. And I'm going to make black and white stamped papers. Here's a sample of one from I think it was a toilet paper roll tube. I like to have black and white papers to use in my mixed media paintings. So this one was on a print paper. I'm going to do some on book pages, rice paper, and drawing paper. I like to have a variety. I like the old book pages because they're easy to rip. And I'm going to use a liquid fluid acrylic. I'm using black here. I'm going to put, you can do colors if you want, but like I said, I like to have some black and white papers for contrast. Okay, and this is pretty straightforward. All right, I'm going to start with the rice paper. And I've got 2 sheets. I'm going to see if it goes through. Okay, I'm going to start with this. It's a deodorant cap, this oval shape. Just dip it in the paint and then repeat stamp. And what's great about this is I can make a variety of patterns depending on how I place that cap on the page. Touching, not touching, overlapping. And then I just have a little file of these that I can whisk through to see if I want to use it in a piece. I can go like this, scooching it. That's a different effect. Okay, so there's that one. I'm going to see if it went through. No, it didn't, which is good. Okay, my book pages. I'm going to use this end of this Lincoln log. And I like this tool in particular because I can get some solid circles and then some with the wood grain. All right, I'm going to go on to the egg whisk. Sometimes you can get these at the thrift store for really cheap. Now I'm going to go on to, I think it's part of a kid's toy, not really sure. Okay. And this is a great thing to do when you're not ready to dive into a more finished piece, but you want to get your hands on paint. Okay, I like that piece. All right. Glue stick cap. Okay, so that's stamping with found objects. I quite like the way this one looks here. It's got great movement, so make a great background for a piece or an abstract piece. The second collage paper I'm going to show you how to make is transparent deli paper skin. So here's a sheet of deli paper. I'm going to paint it just like this, and then when it's dry, coat this with Mod Podge, and the texture almost feels like an oil skin. I can cut these pieces up and add them to paintings. If I put some text or this black and white circular shape underneath, and then Mod Podge. I'm going to see the design showing through. Now, the sandwich paper or the deli paper, I notice it's changed a little bit. It's not quite as transparent, the batch I just got, as the previous one. So I think you could also do this with tracing paper and it might be a bit more transparent. But anyway, the process would be the same. So I'm going to use these same colors and take you through the steps. So I'm going to do a turquoise. These are all opaque. A light phthalo blue. An orange. And then I'm going to use a transparent high flow Indian yellow. And I think I'm going to start with that one. And I'm going to do bigger strokes this time on this one. What I'm testing here is, will the transparent paint be more transparent, and will text or whatever I put underneath show through. So I'm just making an overall pattern. These are fun to do when you have leftover paint on your palette and you don't want to waste them. You can make these deli papers. Now I'm going pretty thick with the turquoise and the other paints, even letting them blend. Okay, so just about like that. And then I would let that dry. And then when it's dry, like this, I'm going to coat this with a layer of Mod Podge, or I could use like a gloss or matte gel. And you want to make sure that your deli paper is taped down. And then I'm going to use a foam roller to do a thin coat of the Mod Podge. This little brayer from the paint store is a great little tool to have. It comes with the paint roller tray. So I just do a thin, even coat of Mod Podge. It may curl up slightly, but it'll settle down after it's dried. And there you have a deli paper skin. And you can have a whole stash of these to pull through and use as needed. The third collage paper I'm going to show you how to make are tissue paper textures. Now, these are great. I can just make random patterns, whatever color I want. There appears to be a shiny side and kind of a rough side. I'm going to play with that. And then I can rip these pieces apart and embed them in my paintings, gluing them down with Mod Podge or probably a gel gloss medium or a matte medium. So I'm going to use the high flow acrylics because this is more delicate and I want the paints to be more transparent. So I'm using a high flow. I've got Indian yellow, turquoise, what is it? Phthalo turquoise, and a sap green. And I'm just going to use this angled brush. I've already added a little bit of water. And I like this angled brush because I can use the top edge to make almost like a stamp, these repeat patterns. I'm going to see, okay, it does go through, which I like. That's really nice and subtle. I would probably recommend putting a piece of drawing paper underneath to absorb any of the paint that goes through. All right, so there's that. Now I'm going to go turquoise. So as I cross over, I'm going to get really nice color interaction. These look almost like stained glass. Okay, so here's the underside, which I like as well. I'm going to clip this outside. I have a clothesline to let this dry on. If I left it on a piece of paper, it's probably going to get glued to that. I don't want that. Okay, so that was rough side. I want to see what the shiny side interaction is, and I'm going to pick a larger house brush. It's kind of scrubbier. It's not a huge difference. It just has more of a sheen to it. Okay. Can add a little bit of water, but the tissue paper is pretty delicate. I'm going to have to hang this up right away. Okay, so that shiny side, I'm going to unfold it. See what that looks like. There's parts I like, but I still prefer the top one. So I'm going to go hang that on my outdoor clothesline, and then I'll come back and we'll do collage paper number 4. The fourth collage paper you can make is with paper towels that you have around the house. Now, this one that these samples that I made, this is slightly more textured. I don't remember where I got it. There's all different kinds, so really it's trial and error, but it's about adding paint to the paper towel and let it soak in, spread, and absorb. So this is a quick way of making more collage material. So get started on these. I'm going to try a variety of things. And again, I'm going to go with the high flow fluid acrylic. Added a little bit of water. Okay, so you can see it absorbing and spreading. You can play with a variety of marks. I'm going to add a little more water because these paper towels are going to soak up a lot of paint. Okay. And I've got 3 paper towels on top of each other. Actually, I'm going to go to 2. Now I'm going to do some wet on wet. I'm going to take a bigger wash brush, wet my paper, and then drop paint into that and watch it bleed. It's much more dramatic, kind of a tie-dye look. So it's a fun, safe way to play with paint and paint interaction. Let's see what it did to the one below. Again, much more subtle. some of it, oh, okay, so oftentimes what's really cool, like if I did one paper towel, the paint would soak through and pick up the pattern. As a matter of fact, I'm going to see if I can do that deliberately. So I'm going to wet this. Okay, let's see if it went through and created any of that, picked up any of that pattern. Okay, it did. Very cool. Okay, so that would be, I'd get these paper towels, and then on the paper below, I'd get the pattern. So I've got multiple collage papers here to work with. The fourth type of collage paper I'm going to show you how to make is if you want to add a little bit more textural dimension to your painting or mixed media pieces. I love all of this corrugated cardboard packing material, or you could get one of those coffee, what do you call them? Coffee mug holder things. So this is part of one, a finer cardboard, and you can really do any colored paint on it that you want. I think some of these were left over from pressing them on the jelly plate, and I went, oh, I like the color on there. I'm going to save those. And then this one I deliberately stained and then went over with metallic bronze and copper to make it look like maybe corrugated metal. So that's the one I'm going to focus on right now. And I'm going to stain one of these Van Dyke Brown high flow acrylic and the other a turquoise phthalo acrylic. So I want to see what kind of interaction I get with the iridescent colors. So I'm just going to, I want to stain the grooves in there. Could really do this with any color you want, but I'm going to go for the metal today. Okay, set that aside, let that dry. I'm going to do the Van Dyke Brown on this one. Okay, ideally I let these dry, but I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to dry brush this iridescent copper and then bronze over this corrugated cardboard. Okay, I like to use a flat brush, and I'm going to start with the copper, low 45-degree angle, and just drag my brush across to pick up the top ridges, but I want to see the stained creases from below. Okay, now I'm going to do the bigger cardboard. Oh, I like it with the turquoise. That shows up better. Now I'm going to go to bronze. Like this one too, but it's pretty subtle. If I wanted that green, I could come back later and stain in between the grooves. It really depends on what I'm going to use it for. Okay, so there's that one, and that one. And then, of course, if you wanted to do color, you could play with that. Corrugated cardboard, yay! This last collage paper I'm calling paper bag leather. So here's a paper bag. It's been crumpled and crumpled and crumpled, and it becomes very soft, almost like a suede. And I like all these creases in here. Those are interesting. I could have that in a painting, and I could drag paint over that and pick up all of these textures. Here's a paper bag that's not crumpled quite as much, but I love the forms again going on in here. Looks like leather, could be really interesting in a mixed media piece like a landscape. So all you have to do is get a paper bag and crumple, undo it, and then you just keep crumpling. You can even stomp on it. I had my elementary students do this. They loved it. You can twist it and just keep going until you get the crinkliness or the softness that you desire. So here, I'm undoing it. I have used this in tapestry mural pieces to look like tree bark. I've even put it on my sewing machine and stitched it together in the mural that I have, and people thought it was leather. They didn't realize that these were all just paper bags. So, love the paper bag. And then, again, these can be saved, portions used. They could be stitched together. I'm already seeing stuff. Very interesting. Looks kind of like buildings, maybe structure of a wall. So simple, yet there's low-level, exciting texture and dimension going on there. Okay, and that is it for handmade collage papers with items found around your house.